Hello, Marie Zimenoff joining you today to talk about another bit of trendy advice that might be killing your career. Today, our advice comes to us from one of my colleagues who did a video about how you should never, ever hire a resume writer. Then she went on to talk about a class that she offers where you can learn to write your resume yourself and use her coaches to improve your resume. These are all valid options. And how do you decide what's right for you? Do you need help with your resume? Would a class be effective for you? Would a resume writer or a coach be a good match? How do you evaluate those options? We're going to talk through that today. Now, I come at this with my own lens. I'm the CEO of the Resume Writing Academy, so I train resume writers all over the world. And before that, I was president of the National Resume Writers Association. I've trained thousands of job seekers like you to write their own resumes through classes, presentations, and workshops. But enough about me. Let's talk about you and your resume. What results are you getting with your resume? If you're not getting 4 to 5 interviews for every 10 resumes that you submit, then there's probably some room to improve your resume. Typically, resumes that individuals write for themselves get 1 to 2 interviews for every 10 applications, and there's definitely room to improve. So if you're not getting the results that you like, or you're not getting interviews for your ideal positions, then there might be some room to improve your resume. If you haven't gotten started with your search yet, and you're not sure if you'll need help, then we'll offer some tips for you as we go along here. Let's start by talking about classes. How do you know if a class would be effective for you? In my experience, classes have been a very good option for people who have more linear careers. So they've done a similar type of work throughout their career, and the next job that they're targeting is right in line with that, along that same career progression. Those people do well in a class. If you've had a resume that's worked for you in the last 5 years, and you just want to make sure that you're up on the current trends and add that latest experience, then a class might be a good fit for you. If you work in more entry-level work and, have maybe just a few years of experience, then a class might be a good fit for you. Or if you're in more blue-collar type of work, then a class might be a good fit for you. Of course, for a class to be a good fit for you, you need to be a good writer, an effective writer, and have the time and desire to want to write your resume. Now, when a class might not be as effective is if you're making a career transition or a shift of some kind. I don't often write resumes today, but I had a client that came back to me who had worked with me a couple of years ago to change industries, and now she wants to change positions within that industry, going from a more technical project management role to a community and more public relations program manager role. And as we're talking to gather the information that we need for the resume, and she's telling me her stories, I'm constantly coaching her and dragging out the information that's more relevant for that future position. The technical information is important, but it's going to be pretty obvious. What we need to highlight is that she also has experience in program management, in leadership, in presentations to the community, and in relationship building. And every time that she starts telling her stories, we're trying to highlight those skills instead of what is more comfortable for her, which is to talk about and focus on the technical. When you're making a transition, this is where a coach or a writer comes alongside you, helps you maintain your focus, and really talk about the accomplishments that are most relevant to the positions that you're targeting. Of course, if you're not an effective writer or you don't like to write, it can be a great option to hire a coach or a writer. But how do you evaluate your options? Let's start with a class. When you're going to take a class on writing your own resume, think about how you can learn strategy, not just plug and play. There is so much that goes into a resume. It's not rocket science, as my colleague pointed out, but it is an art. And strategy goes into that art. So you want a class that will teach you some of that strategy so that you know how to make the decisions for yourself as you go through writing your resume. What order will you put it in? How will you structure the sections? What do you really need to highlight? What are recruiters looking for? And their opinions are pretty diverse, so it's nice to work with someone who has a diverse background and can talk about learning from many different recruiters what they're looking for. When you're looking at a class where you could talk to someone is helpful. If you can go in person to your local workforce center or one-stop center, or a virtual class where you get to interact with a coach or a trainer in some way. A virtual class where it's asynchronous and you're talking to people offline can work as long as you have access to someone to bounce your ideas off of. That, of course, goes to the power of a coach or a writer. Now, how do you choose a writer? When you go to choose a writer, look at someone who's had training. Ask them about their credentials. My favorite, of course, are from the Resume Writing Academy and National Resume Writers Association. They're the most credible in the industry. Ask them how they work with clients, because that's really what matters to you. Is their process going to be a good fit for you? Ask them for samples so that you can see if their design and style is something that you think will be a good fit for you and your industry. If you go to the resumewritingacademy.com, I have an article there, I'll post the link below, that walks you through how to evaluate a writer or a coach and what to expect if you want to work with someone. Feel free to tune in. I'll be bringing you more tips where we'll be talking about trendy advice that might be killing your career and the real scoop behind it. We'll see you back again next time here via video.